The final episode of Summer House Season 10 aired last night, and honestly it felt just unnecessary. Almost everything we saw could have been saved for the reunion, but for some reason Bravo decided to squeeze one more episode out of this storyline. The whole thing just basically came down to 3 conversations. First, Amanda visited Lindsay at her apartment, and let's just say Lindsay did not hold back. She told Amanda exactly what she thinks about West. In Lindsay's view, he is immature, self-centered, manipulative, and someone Amanda needs to walk away from as soon as possible. Lindsay was very direct. She did not let Amanda dodge the conversation or change the subject, even though Amanda clearly tried. She once again slipped into the role of playing the victim. She explained that she lost herself during her relationship and marriage with Kyle, which is something that we all know, and she essentially used that as an excuse to say that that's part of why she made some questionable choices. And while that may explain some of her behavior, I don't think it's a full-blown excuse for how she treated certain friendships and how dismissive she was during the reunion with those friends. She kept saying that she's rethinking everything, but I'm not convinced that she actually means it. To me, that conversation felt more like she was folding under Lindsay's pressure than genuinely reconsidering her relationship with West. I just think Amanda and Wes have had plenty of conversations off camera that reassure her that she's making the right choice. And if this relationship ends, I think it's going to end on West's terms, not Amanda's. And maybe that's harsh, but Amanda has shown time and time again that she kind of struggles to make difficult decisions when it comes to relationships. I can already imagine her making excuses for things that would be deal breakers for most people when it comes to West. And I think the bigger issue is that Amanda seems like someone who feels most comfortable when she's in a relationship, and we all know women like that. They move from one relationship to the next because being single just feels, I guess, scarier than being unhappy. And that's why I think this situation is perfect for Wes, just like Ciara pointed out at the reunion. Wes now gets to control the pace and the terms of this relationship, while Amanda sticks around, hoping things will eventually work out. The problem is that eventually that can lead to resentment, exhaustion, and disappointment yet again, just like in her relationship with Kyle. And based on everything we've seen so far, I don't exactly picture Wes rushing toward marriage and children anytime soon, even though Amanda has apparently been very clear that those are things that she wants, and very soon. She also made it clear that West pursued her and not the other way around after he had the audacity to say that she was obsessed with him for a very long time. And on this one, I fully believe Amanda. Even if she did have a little crush, she just doesn't strike me as the kind of person who would pursue that crush in this type of situation. So I think the way this whole thing started rests entirely on Wes's shoulders, even if he tries to deny it, which he most likely will. The second major conversation was actually between West and Kyle, and honestly this was the most interesting part of the episode for me. West showed more emotion and communicated more clearly in this one conversation than he did during most of the reunion. All of a sudden he wasn't mumbling, avoiding questions, making weird faces, or acting completely unbothered. So apparently he can communicate very well whenever he wants to, and that made me wonder if some of his frustration and behavior is actually directed at Bravo and production. This week there were reports that Wes may not be returning as a full cast member next season. The rumors have been going on for a while, but they ramped up after he joked on his podcast that he hopes the Knicks lose their next game so that nobody watches Bravo. Then Lindsay apparently heard that he said this on his podcast and wasn't exactly thrilled about that comment and quickly fired back online. And that's when reports started confirming that Wes may in fact not be returning full-time, although he is still in talks that he could make occasional appearances and cameos. And whether those reports are true or not, it definitely feels like Wes has developed a complicated relationship with the show. Part of me thinks that he is still frustrated by how he was portrayed after the whole Ciara situation in the first season that he appeared on the show, and the more he talks, the more I think Ciara may have been right about him holding on to that resentment. Another interesting detail was that Wes apparently wanted this conversation with Kyle to happen off camera, but Kyle disagreed and said that since their lives have played out publicly, the conversation might as well happen publicly as well. And to my surprise, Wes actually showed up and engaged. Now, whether everything he said was completely truthful is another story, but at least he was clear and consistent. He told Kyle that he genuinely cares for Amanda. He admitted that he told her he loved her for the first time during filming last season. He He also said that he understands why people don't trust him because he's lied so much, and that's probably the most self-aware thing that we've heard from him all season. And what I took away from this conversation is that Wes doesn't seem like some master manipulator, as much as just like an emotionally immature guy who avoids difficult conversations because they're uncomfortable. Instead of clearly telling women he's not interested in a serious relationship with them, he sends mixed signals and hopes that they'll figure it out themselves. He even admitted that when his relationship started becoming more serious, with talks about meeting the family, spending holidays together, making long-term plans, he tends to pull back rather than directly communicate how he's feeling. And that's exactly the problem right there. Avoiding the conversation doesn't make the situation less painful to the other person, it actually makes it worse. What also stood out to me is how true it was Dara's statement that he seems to treat his friendships better than he does his romantic relationships, because he sat down with Kyle and had a mature, respectful conversation, yet we've seen him avoid these same conversations with women like Ciara, and that's what makes this whole thing so frustrating. Kyle, meanwhile, handled the conversation surprisingly well. He was calm, respectful, and even gracious throughout most of it, which I was a little annoyed with. Like, I get they were friends and real friends at that, but your friend betrayed you in the worst way, so why are you so nice to him? And then Wes said that he loved Amanda. I think Kyle felt a little like a mixed bag of emotions. There was probably some concern there, but also maybe some relief that Amanda isn't jumping into something completely casual. Still, only time will tell whether Wes is actually serious or whether this relationship is headed toward the same ending many people are expecting, me included. And then we got to the final conversation of the episode, with Ciara sitting down with Wes's other girlfriend, Mija. And once again, Ciara just showed us what type of person she is. The very first thing she did was apologize to Mija. Think about that. Ciara was the one who got hurt in this situation, yet she still took a moment to acknowledge how difficult it must have been for Mija to watch everything unfold on television, with Ciara and Wes kissing at the end of the season of Summer House while he was apparently in a relationship with Mija, even though nobody knew about it except for them. And according to Mija, she and Wes were in an exclusive relationship while many of these events were happening. She stayed at the house, talked to him regularly, and received updates from him while he was filming Summer House during the weekends. The problem is that she obviously wasn't getting the full story, and one of the more shocking details was learning just how long this relationship had been going on. Bravo showed a montage reminding viewers that Mija's connection with Wes actually goes back much further than many people realized. We are not talking about a brief fling. There was real history there. So much history that after this last reunion, Wes apparently spent 6 hours on the phone with her. 6 hours. I'm sorry, but most people don't spend 6 straight hours talking to anyone they don't consider important. And that detail alone says a lot. Mija also revealed that many of their conversations now happen over the phone rather than in text, mostly because Amanda doesn't trust her new boyfriend and she likes to be present for those interactions. And honestly, I can't blame her. At least she's being smart considering how much lies Wes has told. Then the episode concluded when Ciara basically read them both forfeit, saying that this is just the thrill of sneaking around and being in a new relationship, and that they both just blew up their lives for essentially a fling that's gonna fizzle out quicker than it started. It was kind of sad though. Both of these women thought that they were dating a guy who made them feel like they were special, like he was interested and cared about them, and he was a decent, quirky, fun-loving guy, but he only cared about having his cake and eating it too, and ended up being not just looking like your average fuckboy. But that was it. The episode actually felt very short. There were no grand revelations, no real resolutions, and only time will tell if this relationship has any legs, or if it's gonna be what I expect it to be, which is just a quick rebound for both of them. I think Kyle and Lindsay are gonna be forgiving so that they can keep Amanda on Summer House, which I'm not thrilled about. Let's be honest, she's kind of a wet blanket. There's never been anything interesting about her aside from her relationship with Kyle and him being basically a shitty husband, which she is now going to be free from, but her new boyfriend is not going to be on the show, so I don't know what Amanda's storyline is going to be this summer, especially since I don't foresee Ciara talking to her. Let me know what you think. Where do you think this next season is going, and who do you want to see come back? Especially now that we have the Summer House spinoff and the city that's going to feature both Kyle and Amanda. Is it time for one or maybe both of them to retire from the OG show, or do you want to see this storyline play out? Let me know in the comments, and see you back here next week with a video on a brand new topic now that Summer House is officially over. And if you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching.